Welcome to 3.3 Writing Functions. So today we're going to look at tables or ordered pairs and determine the function that creates those ordered pairs. So let's start with the first example. Bob makes $12 an hour. Therefore, after 1 hour he makes 12, 2 hours he makes 24, 3 hours he makes 36, 4 hours he makes $48, and so forth. So the amount earned, how much Bob makes, equals blank times the number of hours worked. Well, if you take the number of hours he worked times 12, you get how much he pays. How do I get from x to y? Take 1 times 12, I get 12. Take 2 times 12, I get 24. Take 3 times 12, I get 36. Take 4 times 12, I get 48. It's figuring out a relationship between x and y. In this case, I take the x times 12 to get y. Let's do the same thing here. How do I get from 1 to negative 2, 2 to negative 1, 3 to 0, 4 to 1? So on the first ordered pair, 1, negative 2, I could say times negative 2. Because if I take 1 times negative 2, I get negative 2, and that works for the first one. Let's see if it works for the rest. 2 times negative 2, that equals negative 4. So it's not multiplying by negative 2. So these do not work. Let's try another example. 1 minus 3, that equals negative 2. 2 minus 3, that equals negative 1. This looks like it might work. 3 minus 3 is 0. 4 minus 3 is 1. So we see that if we take the x value and subtract 3, we get the y value. Minus 3, we get this. Minus 3, we get this. Minus 3, we get y. Therefore, the equation would be y equals, take the x value, subtract 3, and you get the y value. Let's do the same thing here. How do I get from 1 to 3, from 2 to 6, from 3 to 9, from 4 to 12? What's the relationship between x and y on these? Well, if I add 2, I get 3. If I add 2 here, I get 4. So adding does not work. Let's try multiplying. Times 1 times 3, 2 times 3, 3 times 3, 4 times 3. I notice that 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12. Therefore, I know that y equals whatever x is times 3. So that is my function. Let's do the same thing here. How do I get from 0 to 4? Well, 0 times 4 obviously isn't 4, so it's not a multiplication. Let's try addition. So 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 4 is 10. Therefore, I see if I get, in order to get y equals whatever x is plus 4. In order to get y, I take x and add 4 to it. That's my function. In math, there's always the independent and dependent. The input of a function, remember input is x, the output is y. The input is independent, the output is dependent. Just like here, what's y gonna equal? It depends on the value of x. X does not depend on y. The value of y depends on the value of x. So y, the output, is the dependent variable. X, the input, is the independent variable. So Tasha babysits and charges $5 per hour. So that means after 1 hour she makes $5. 2 hours she makes 10, 3, 15, 4, 20. Which is the independent, which is the dependent? X, Y. Remember, X is input, Y is output. So the amount she earns, how much she earns, depends on the amount of time she works. So amount of time she works, that's the input, that's the independent. Amount she earns, that's the dependent. Okay, the cost of apples is based on its weight. So cost, we'd say cost equals whatever the weight is times the price. So in this case, C, my cost, is my output. Weight is my input. So cost, dependent, weight, independent. The faster Bob drives, the quicker he gets home. So, is how fast he drives depends on when he gets home, or when he gets home depends on how fast he drives? This, the quicker he gets home, is dependent on how fast Bob drives. More air conditioning is necessary as the number of people in a room increase. So if you don't know this, warm bodies generate heat on their own. So the more people in a room, the hotter it's going to get. The less people in a room, the cooler it's going to get. So more air conditioning is necessary as the number of people in a room increase. So if there are more people, they need more air conditioning. So how much air conditioning is dependent on the number of people? People in a room, independent. Amount of air conditioning that's necessary. How much air conditioning you need? Depends on the number of people in the room. Alright. Now we're going to write functions. So Sally makes $12 an hour. Anytime you see per, for any, for each, that always indicates multiplication. If it's $3 per pencil, it's 3 times the number of pencils. In this case, if it's $12 an hour, it's $12 times the number of hours. So we're going to write this in function notation form. This does not mean f times x. This means f of x or function of x. In other words, this f of x means the function evaluated at x. So for example here, I'm going to write this as f of x equals 12x. Now if I want to evaluate this function for 4 hours, I would say, so f of 4 equals 12 times 4. So f of 4 equals 48. In other words, the function evaluated at 4 hours equals 48, in this case, dollars. It's just another form of notation. So earlier we wrote y equals 12x. Now we're just writing in function notation. But again, it essentially means the same thing. All right. The taxi charges an initial fee of $5. So f of x equals, says they charge $5 plus, so that's plus sign, 75 cents for each mile, for each, for every. That is always multiplication. So plus 0.75 times the number of miles. And since we made it x, I'm actually going to change this to the function evaluated m. So when I plug in something for m, I get 5 plus 0.75 m. Bob buys oranges that are $3.69 per pound. So f of x equals 3.69 times the number of pounds, whatever that is. All right. Last thing here, f of x equals x to the third minus 10, and it wants us to evaluate. And remember, evaluate means plug in. So solve, we do reverse order of operations. We do addition, subtraction, then multiplication, division, then addition, then exponents, then parentheses. That's what we've been talking about up until this point, is solving equations. Now we're going to actually evaluate, which means we're going to go in order of operations. So first we got to do parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Remember, order of operations is PEMDAS. Remember, whenever we evaluate, we have to go in that order. So here I go, f of x equals x to the third minus 10. It wants us to evaluate it at x equals 2 and at x equals negative 1. So it's two separate problems. We're going to do it 2 different times. So the first one, x, but instead of writing x, I'm going to write 2 to the third minus 10. So this is f, the function, evaluated at 2 equals 2 to the third minus 10. So whenever I do evaluation, I got to look for parentheses first. Well, nothing to do inside parentheses, just a number. So then do exponents. 2 to the third. So that's 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So this is 8 minus 10, which is negative 2. So in other words, function evaluated at 2 equals negative 2. Now we do function evaluated at negative 1. Well, that's negative 1 to the third minus 10. So this one's a little trickier. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Well, negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Positive 1 times negative 1 is negative 1 minus 10, which is negative 11. So f of negative 1 equals negative 10. All right. Here, we are going to evaluate negative 3 and then 2. So let's start with negative 3. So f of negative 3. And again, this doesn't mean f times negative 3. This means the function evaluated at negative 3 equals 2 times negative 3. And I always use parentheses when I plug stuff in. Divided by 3 plus 4. So first we do parentheses, nothing to do inside. So we do exponents. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. So I get equals 2 times positive 9 divided by 3 plus 4. Well, now I do multiplication, because I can't do exponents anymore. There's no more exponents to do. So I go 2 times 9, 18. So that gets me 18 divided by 3 plus 4. 18 divided by 3, 6 plus 4, which gets me 10. So the function evaluated at negative 3 is 10. Let's do the same thing for 2. Function evaluated at 2 equals 2, parentheses, 2 squared, all over 3 plus 4. So that equals 2 squared is 4. So I get 2 times 4 all over 3 plus 4. 2 times 4 is 8 divided by 3 plus 4. Oh no, we're going to get a decimal here. So I get 8/3 plus 4. Let's change that to 2 and 2/3 plus 4. So I'm going to get 6 and 2/3, which also equals 20/3. I would accept either. Or 6.6 repeating. So that means the function evaluated at 2 equals 6 and 2/3 or 20/3. And now that is lesson 3.3, dealing with finding independent and dependent writing functions and looking at graphs and tables and ordered pairs to determine what the function is. Go ahead and give it a shot on your homework. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.